from where you at. I came here for vengeance, watch your back. No need to defend, I'm on attack. Sorry they can't reply, but I guarantee they had a blast. Pop, 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 I be on the next only, yeah, I am fresh to death.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Long Haul Mentality. I am your host, as always, Nick Bagley, and this week I have my friend Calum Raistrick on. Did I Raistrick?
Raistrick, you nailed that. Well done.
That's great. I'm the worst with last names, and I feel like I keep challenging myself more and more with these last names.
You did a good job there. Don't worry, you did a good job.
Oh, I make sure I read it very, very well before the podcast, so I didn't mess that up.
Most people ruin that the first time, so yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there first time.
Well, I'm glad I did it justice, man. So how are your holidays, man? I know you said you're at your family's house right now, and you're leaving later today to go back home.
Yeah, all good. It was. I always take a week for Christmas. It's probably easier now. We've the first Christmas we've got our little boy here who's coming up to 9 months old, just under 10 months old now. So I think having clear separation with work and family time and work and not work has been a lot easier since we started a little family, which has been amazing. So I don't know if you've got kids, right?
Yeah, I have a 5-year-old, man. I was kind of like sitting here thinking about that, like that super young age there, and it gets crazier, but it's definitely awesome. You know, I think for me, the holidays this year was like the year that everything really clicked. Like my son's 5 years old. He really understands what Christmas is. He was talking about Santa. He was asking for Christmas songs. Like he was doing all those kinds of things. And it was one of those moments where it was like, this is what I was missing with the holidays. You know, when you're a single dude with like I'm away from my family, I'm multiple states away from my family. It's like, it's just another day. But now it's like when you have kids, it's like, this is awesome.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree.
How far away does your family live from you?
So we live like in the middle of the country, further north, and my wife's parents are on the bottom right, and my parents are on the bottom left. So we're it's basically in a massive triangle, about 4 hours away from all the points. But the UK is like,
that's not bad.
You're Texas based, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how many UKs you can fit in Texas, but it's definitely more than a few. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually leaving after this podcast. I'm going down to Houston for the New Year's. My girlfriend lives in Houston, right, and it's a 4-hour drive, so it's about the same distance. So I'm going from Texas to another part of Texas in the same drive that you make.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's literally nearly the bottom end of the country for us, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah. There's still hours to go to the bottom end of Texas if I kept going. But
yeah.
So out of curiosity, like, have you always kind of taken off time during the holidays? I've talked to a number of different coaches who, like, some run it a little bit different. So do you typically plan that in?
I'd say probably the last 2 or 3 years, I've been a lot more diligent with it, but I didn't do that for a long period of time, like coming up, if that makes sense. It was you probably felt it's probably more guilt and being conscious of not wanting to let clients down and set expectations. And maybe if I give them a check-in over Christmas, they'll enter the new year and they'll enter January in a better spot, and you don't want to lose momentum there. Like, it took me a long time to almost have the confidence to do it in the first place, where you just turn around and say, look guys, I'm going to take a week's holiday, which is crazy to think about, because any other profession on earth, you're going to get holiday, you're going to get time off, right? Whereas we're like, no, we've got to work every single day. We've got to work every single day of the year, and we've got to do that for years and years. So don't get me wrong, like I've done many Christmases where I've worked your way through, but I think you do get to a point where it's you've earned the right to do it in the first place. But you also find that, if you want to stay in the game and you want to stay in control, like, you've got to take that time to reset, so you can then move into the 100%. Next year ready to go.
100%. Yeah. And the other part to that I think people often miss is, like, if you're in your first couple of years of coaching, the unfortunate reality is the people who do decide to work with you aren't going to be the best candidates in the world, and a lot of them might not understand you taking time off. A lot of them might fall off if you don't spend that time with them. But like at the level that you're at and the level that I'm at with, like, the relationship that I've built with my clients, it's as easy as a message going, hey, I'm gone for a week. I'll see you guys in a week. Especially during this time of the year, it's like There's not many shows going on. Like anybody who is in a prep is like 16 to 20 plus weeks out. So it's like we can have some time off. You can relax a little bit. But I think that is a very interesting thing of like in the beginning, you're like, oh, I can't take time off. And then now, like once you've kind of settled into it, you're like, I can calm down a little bit. And you've seen how beneficial it can be since you've been doing it the last few years.
Exactly. I think I've always said like I was probably for 7 or 8 years of time I've been coaching, I've always been the guy where it's like I'll work every single day of the year. I never burn out. Like I don't need time off. Like I do what I love, so I don't need to take time off. And then when you get to the point of actually being burnt, and you get to the point of like I'm actually completely cooked now in terms of fatigue and just being completely overcome by workload and stress and feeling as though you're starting to lose control, then you start realizing the importance of actually, I need to manage this better if I want to do this for another 5-10 years, because like I can't operate at this level without taking time for myself in the first place as well, right?
The funniest part about that is if I was your client and I was coming to you and telling you all of those things, going, man, I feel drained, everything sucks, I feel like shit, my sleep's going to shit, my appetite sucks, like all these things, you'd be like, hey man, sit the fuck down for a week.
Yeah,
like relax, go fucking touch grass or something, you know? But like we'll run ourselves into the ground because I was like, no, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. And it's like we almost, as much as we sit here and tell other people do it, you almost have to put yourself into that hole to go, all right, yep, I fucked up, I wasn't paying attention. Like
100%. It's the same as
trial by fire.
It's the same. It's a similar situation where it's like when people say, oh, you know, how many clients can I handle, or how many clients can I work with on a singular basis? Like, well, just you got to find out, like find out the hard way, and at some point you're going to reach a point where it's like either your standards start dropping, or your communication starts slipping, or your communication time or response time starts slipping, or you'll notice it. But I'm also a firm believer in like you got to find out, and then you've got to learn. You got to learn through the baptisms of fire whilst you're there, right?
Agreed. Yeah. And, you know, I've actually been, when I do my calls with people coming onto the team, because like I've been in too many situations where I bring somebody on without asking enough questions, and then I end up in a spot where I'm dealing with someone I don't want to deal with, right? So I always screen every single person I work with, lifestyle clients, it doesn't matter, lifestyle competitors, everything. If you can't hop on a call with me, you don't need to be on my team. But when I'm going through those calls, I sit here and tell people like, look, I keep my team smaller for a purpose. I'm going to charge you more money, but it's going to be a smaller team because 9 out of 10 of the people who have come to me to either just inquire or actually sign up with me have all mentioned, I'm leaving another coach because I don't feel taken care of, I don't feel communicated with. That reputation, if that gets away from you, is a fucking killer. And look, I guarantee, as I sit here and say this, there's a client out there right now that is talking shit about me, going, he didn't communicate with me and he did a shit job and this, that, and the other. Every single one of us has one of those examples. As long as you've been coaching, I'm sure you have a few people who really like you these days. Like, but if you get that reputation across the board, oh, bro, that's a fucking death sentence. So yeah, you're right. You do have to learn that shit the hard way and kind of put yourself through it, just like you do in prep. You have to figure out what the fuck is too far to go, okay, cool. All right, pull it back a little bit.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
So that's a pretty good transition into the topic that we did discuss. And you are one of the people that I look at as like the echelon that I'm looking to crack into as far as coaching, right? It's like we have kind of like a hierarchy of coaches. It's like Hani and some of these guys kind of loom over everybody as like we are the fucking like Chris Aceto, like the legends of the coaching industry. And then there's kind of a tier system down. That's kind of how I look at it, and put whoever the fuck you want to in that. There's coaches that I'm going to put in there that people don't think are great, whatever. I don't give a shit. But you're one of those people that I look at that's like, you're at a point that I'd like to get to, right? And everybody focuses on like, oh, Callum's doing such a great job right now. He's crushing it with his athletes. He has these huge team. He's got all these coaches under him. He's got tons of pros on the team. That's what everybody's focused on right now. But the thing that people forget about is what it took you to get there. So when did you start to get into coaching? Like I'm sure you were bodybuilding prior to that. So when did you start getting into coaching?
I started. Well, I all started from from PT days, because I started coaching on the gym floor with general population clients from like 2013, 2014, and I did 6 years, 6 years on the gym floor, working with just everyone that came through the door, like all walks of life, all goals, all shapes and sizes, male, female, any age, and just it was a bit of a jack of all trades on the gym floor, until I started to take more of a personal interest in the competitive side of bodybuilding myself. And then, it's a pretty standard rite of passage, where a lot of my first exposure to body composition based stuff was taking clients through photo shoot transformations, and a lot of it was male dominant at the start, but then I started coaching a few females, and then some of those body composition based clients that were photo shoot based started to compete as first timers, and then it just started to slowly build momentum from there. But all of that started from the gym floor, which I think, to a degree, I think in that situation, the time that I spent one to one with clients, and did you coach gym floor based as well, or just
Yeah.
online?
Yeah, I was when I first moved to Texas in 2019 is when I started my PT career. I'd already been bodybuilding before that, but I had not, like, I'd worked in supplement shops and had talked about being a personal trainer, that kind of thing. I moved to Texas in 2019 with the intent of getting into the fitness industry. So starting out on the gym floor, I went from an LA Fitness to an Equinox to finally Destination Dallas, where I started to make my foray into the bodybuilding world.
Nice. Yeah. So very similar kind of rite of passage. I started an LA Fitness, but the UK version back in the day, where it was like LAPT, and I was doing like
the fucking worst.
I used to do like 9 hours a week for the gym, where I teach
fucking
like
worst
classes and just random work reception for like 3 hours a day, and just to pay less rent for the gym. And then it was just
you probably made like $100.
It was crazy. And there were points back then where I remember when I left university, and I was in debt from like having a student loan. I was at points in that first year where I was like, I'm not sure this is the right thing to do here. Like, I can barely pay for a 1-bedroom flat in the apartment I'm sleeping in. So
going to take a quick break from the podcast to bring a few things to your attention. First off, as I was going through the YouTube analytics, I noticed that almost 70% of my watchers are not subscribed. So if you're watching this right now, please do me a favor and click that subscribe button. Every single time I get a new subscriber, comments, likes, and shares, this helps spread the podcast more, and I really, really appreciate you guys. This podcast has no paid sponsorships, so the best way for you to support my channel is to support my sponsors. So Labrada Pro Series is my supplement sponsor. We have a full line of products with some new ones coming. The pre-workout is on the way right now, and the new Labrada Nutrition RTD pre-workout is about to hit the market as well. On top of Labrada Pro Series, I also have Gasp and Better Bodies, and then I also have Authentic Aminos. Please go support these companies. Use my code Bagley10 for Labrada Pro Series, Bagley15 for Gasp and Better Bodies, and Bagley for Authentic Aminos. Thanks, guys. Let's get back to the podcast. I had to pick up a bouncing gig. When I first started personal training out here. LA Fitness was dog shit. I didn't last more than 3 months at that place because it was running me ragged, and the most I ever made there was $400.
That's crazy.
I transferred. I got the gig at Equinox after I met someone that I was bouncing who worked at Equinox, and he got me hooked up. And then that was where things started to grow as far as income with training and experience with training. And then COVID, and then that whole fun thing. So of course, I'm sure that was impactful towards your coaching.
Did you go online during COVID then, when you first took the leap, or?
To be completely honest with you, no. I tried, and at the time it was just like I was kind of in this like fuck it headspace of like the thing is Equinox paid us the entire time we were down and not working.
Wow.
Not our full 100%, but it was 70% of our previous month. And I had done fairly well, and it covered my bills. and then we got some aid and whatnot. So like I was fine as far as money was concerned. And like I just kind of said fuck it and played video games, and like I had hired Chris Tuttle before that, and like nothing was open. And like when I can't go to the gym, I get really fucking just like nasty. I get gross, and it's just not good. So I got really lazy during that time. I tried to do the podcast. That's the first time I started up the podcast was in COVID because I needed something to do. And then eventually it let back up very quickly here in Texas, and I was able to get back to work. And it was like I had some online people as I was doing in person, but it wasn't like something that I was growing super well.
Okay. Yeah, I remember the first lockdown where I built a gym in my garage, and I used to basically do like, I would get up super early and I'd do like 6 hours of work, finish my work, I'd go to the gym, and then I just play Warzone all night.
Yeah, dude. Warzone was the game at that time, man. That was all consuming.
When Warzone first came out in lockdown, everyone was on there. Crazy.
Yeah, all fucking Call of Duty is shit the bed now, but that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, it is.
But,
it is.
Yeah, it's. So when did you start to really pick up steam with online? Like when did that start to happen?
So there's a gym it's actually shut now. Have you heard of a guy called Mark Coles?
Yeah. I worked with Mark Coles for a period of time. Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay, right. So Mark had a gym in Nottingham called M10, and when I moved from the first gym I was working at, it was quite a big turning point really, because I'd built a relatively busy in-person client base, but just from all types of clients. Like there was no real specialism. I was working with people that they wanted to lose weight or they wanted to get in shape, but it wasn't, everyone was doing photo shoots, everyone was body composition orientated. And it started to make me made me think a little bit in terms of like, is this who I want to be working with forever? Or is this maybe a stepping stone to where I want to be? And I ended up leaving everything in person and going to work at M10, which was Mark's original gym in Nottingham. And then M10 got me into the realm of most of the guys that were working there were competitive bodybuilders. Pretty much all the clients, although there were all walks of clients in terms of backgrounds and demographics, it was all body composition based. It was all kind of Poliquin, biosignature, like very, very, it started to become very structured in terms of the coaching process. You started to look more at hormones. You started to look more at, blood work and more of an analytic side in terms of coaching. Started to look more into exercise mechanics, and we started with RTS, we started with Brian Walsh. That was my kind of eye open into fucking hell, like this. And that was something that I found a lot of enjoyment just learning the stuff that I knew would make me a better coach and a better problem solver. And that kind of lit the fire to go, this is really something that I want to go as deep as I can in. And then I'd spent pretty much 3 years just churning out transformations, and that got to a point where I was being coached by Jordan Peters at that point for my own bodybuilding, and I think just by power of association, it just started to get a few more athletes in that degree, and then it just started to move from there. We moved from Nottingham to Manchester in 2018. And that's where we started the Muscle Mentors. So when I first started online, we started the Muscle Mentors, which was just a podcast at the start. And Mark was like, "This isn't a business, right? It's just a podcast." And I was like, "I think it's just a podcast." And then a year later, we started the business. But yeah, M10 was like a huge part of my development as a coach. Huge part.
Yep.
And then Muscle Mentors.
It's interesting how.
Go
ahead. Sorry. No, it's interesting how we both have like fairly similar stuff, because it's like Destination was the place that put me into the circles that I'm in, and I'm still developing and coming up as a coach and starting to get higher and higher level athletes and putting out better and better results. But it's just because I am in the area that I'm in and friends with the people that I'm friends with who just happen to live here that people believe that I'm higher than what I am. And like that's a great thing, but at the same time, it's also difficult because it's like I'm right in the middle of the fucking the shit. It's like there's a lot of coaches in my area. There's a whole lot of competitive, like a lot of people that people can go to. And when you are I would say at my level with coaching, I'm still very much picking up a lot of local people, people in my area and the surrounding states and states that I have connections to, that kind of stuff. But it's like once you start cracking into bigger and bigger areas, that there's a bigger pool of people you can choose from, I guess is kind of what I'm getting at there. But
yeah.
So when do you feel like, what was the year that you felt like you really started to pick up steam, where you were like getting a lot of high national level competitors or pro competitors?
So like I competed in 2019. And that was a bit of a crossroads there, where once I competed, and as you always normally see, once you kind of walk the walk and people see you do it in the first place, it builds a little bit more trust as well alongside what you're saying. And I got a lot of competitors inquiring off the back of that. And it was also a time where I got my first two pro cards in 2019. So it was a figure girl, Erin, and Josh Bridgman turned pro in men's physique.
Nice.
And it went from like 2 pro cards in 2019. I think I got 4 in 2020. And then 2022 was like the big year for me. 2022 it was 14 pro cards in that season. And ever since 2022 happened, and it was like the craziest year, because I had a full-time videographer living with us, Loki, who's like one of my best friends now, who was a 17-year-old videographer that we've met like one of the last trips, that ended up just moving to the UK and living with me to film everything. That was the first time that I came over to when I went to the Arnold, Ohio. That was the first time I came over to Destination and stayed as well. We stayed for a week in Dallas. But yeah, 2022 was
I think I was
you were there for sure.
I think I was there when you came.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was the first year. That was 2020 was. I don't think I wasn't a trainer there yet, because I didn't. What was it? When in 2020 was it?
No, it would have been. It would have been 2021, I think.
2021. Yep. That's right. Yeah, because I wasn't in the gym in 2020. 2021. Yeah. That's funny. Wow, that feels like a lifetime ago. That's crazy.
It's crazy. I know, it's crazy. But that I think that year was a big catalyst for. And the irony is, like, it was a big catalyst for people, for the external audience in the industry to go, oh, actually, he can deliver on what he says he can deliver on. But also, and you'll resonate to this, it was also a little bit of a light bulb moment for me to realize that I can actually do this. Like, from what I've been planning on doing, or what the kind of the dream was in terms of what your vision was for who you wanted to coach. Like, it's the light bulb moment and the realization of, like, I'm actually, like, it's a bit of a shock that you're actually starting to do it and deliver on it as well in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because I feel like currently in my own coaching, I'm at a crossroads, and this is, I guess this is probably part of why I wanted to talk to you about this, because I love having these conversations with people like yourself, because it always helps me. I always take something away from it. But I'm kind of at this spot where I had multiple opportunities at my fingertips. They were right fucking there. Like, of a few people who I had a figure girl who could get a natural NPC pro card. I had 3 men who could get a pro card. So, like, I had a bunch of opportunities, and it was like, just we missed the mark just each time. And it's been one of those things of, like, if I know if I can just get that first pro card, it's just going to snowball from there. And I know those opportunities are coming, but it's the part of getting through that, right? It's the part of getting through that. Like, I know what I'm doing. It's just a matter of, like, I have to get it on that day. It just has to be my day. You know what I mean? Was there a moment like that for you during that process of, like, you got your first pro cards in 2019? Was there anything before that or between that 2019 to 2022 phase where you were like, man, should I really keep doing this? Am I good at this?
100%. Like, it happens. It's to an extent, it still happens now. Like, you're still at some shows, you're like, I should have done better there, or I should have changed that, or I feel as though it's like, I feel everyone's like, everyone's like, you looked incredible, but you, in your mind, you're like, I wasn't quite happy with what happened there. I wasn't quite happy with this. Honestly, like, some of the hardest moments I've had coaching, especially in the early days, will have been traveling out to shows, coming back having missed a mark or missed by one place or whatever it might have been, and coming back home, like trying to pick yourself up to then go again and put on that face and keep on delivering, because you do start questioning your ability to actually do it in the first place, particularly when you're surrounded by everyone posting their success and posting their wins and you know
Oh my
how
God.
then you're thinking, actually, am I good enough to be
Yeah.
able to do this in the first place? Am I as good as them if they're doing this every single week? And it's just something you've got to quietly, you just got to quietly put yourself back in your own lane and just persist and just continue to deliver. Like I don't know if you've ever heard of a chap, or you would have done, Stefan, he's called Boss of Outlaw over in Europe.
Yeah.
Just give me 1 sec. Somebody's at the get my work. Give me 1 minute. There's somebody
Yeah, dude,
with an
I can pause it.
oil tank outside. Let me get them
I'll
to open
pause
up
it.
the front.
All right, we're going again. All settled.
So there was the same time I remember I would be traveling back from shows, like trying to win like my second pro card or my third pro card. And I remember Stefan, that was the year where he was literally getting like 2 or 3 pro cards every weekend. And you'd be sat on the flight going home on your Instagram and you'd be like, oh, he's won another one. Oh, he's won another one. And then you start that little voice in your head starts telling you things that you just need to block out at the start, because it will happen. And honestly, in those situations, when it does start happening, like the highs that you'll eventually relish in and cherish will be worth it because of the lows that you've pushed through and you've endured. And that's just the reality of it. And I think realistically, when you're trying to reach the heights of anything, any industry, any sport, like you're going to have to go through your period of time of dealing with shit to be able to earn the right to deal with the good stuff, right?
It's exactly what you said earlier of like you gotta go through the bullshit to understand the other side of it, right? You have to take your lumps before you can take your praise, you know, and
100%.
those are the things that is the hardest fought battles, if you want to call it, of coaching, is like I can handle it better if a client comes in and they look awesome, they like the way they felt, but like we didn't place where we wanted. It's like, okay, that I can be okay with. It doesn't mean that I'm happy with it. I want that fucking placing, right? But the thing that will really eat at you is when you miss and you know you missed and you know your athlete's pissed about it. And it's like, okay, I got to salvage this. I got to make sure that I can still put confidence in this person that, look, I can do this. I just need you to give me another chance. And that's a hard place to be. And I had to have that conversation a lot this year. And it's like, look, we're right there. If you just give me one more chance and we hang on, I promise that we can make this done, make this done. And if we don't, then go find somebody else. I'm not the one for you. I can't do it. But I promise you, give me one more chance. We're going to throw everything we have at this, and then I can at least hang my hat on that and be okay with it. You know?
Yeah. It's
that's a hard one. That's a hard one to deal with. You know, that's a hard one to like swallow it and bite the bullet and go, yep, well, I fucked that one up. And the unfortunate reality is sometimes you're not going to get those chances again. You know?
Yeah. The internal pressure, I think it's probably twofold now. It's the internal pressure you're placing on yourself to deliver, because the standards you want to hold, because you know that those standards are going to reflect on everything else to come and what you attract after that point in terms of the success and your hit rate there on stage with the consistency. But also, you also know the further you get in this sport, the more eyes there are, the more voices there are, and you also know, the night before the Tampa Pro with Niall, or the night before Niall's Olympia this year in particular, everyone is expecting you to be in that first call out. Everyone is expecting you to be in the top 10. Everyone is expecting you to win the Tampa Pro. And in your mind, there is a little part of you that will just whisper, what happens if you don't? But then it's like, you've just got to, you've just got to cut it out and just be like, look, we're here. Like, this is what we want to do. And you just got to have the confidence to, like, we can do this. Like you've already proved it with those little moments you've got through and the big moments you've got through earlier in your career. And at some point you've just got to, I think a lot of the coaching confidence just comes from backing your ability. And that comes from just having time and skin in the game to actually be able to say that in the first place. You can't say that in the first year of coaching, But when you've done this for 10 years and you've put yourself through that baptism of fire and you've put yourself through those hard situations and hard conversations and you've put yourself through those moments where you have fallen short and had to pick things up and move forwards and hold yourself accountable, like you get a certain level of thick skin where it's like, look, I'm conditioned for this now, and this is where I operate, and I've got to execute.
It comes back to that whole thing of like focusing on what you can control and can't control. And the most unfortunate part about bodybuilding is there's a million fucking things we can't control. Like prime example here in one of these coaching moments that that happened to me at the end of this season is I have this 19-year-old kid, Sam, who is just a fucking mutant. Like the first show that we did Battle of Texas and then Nationals. At Battle of Texas, he was 245 at 19 years old. Wow. Right? Or 243 at 19 years old, 245, something like that. He was in that ballpark once he was like on stage. At Nationals, he was 253. He was like, he was heavy and peeled out of his fucking mind, like disgusting peeled. Yeah. So we do Battle of Texas. He wins the supers pretty easily, right? And then we go to the overall. And like, it was one of those situations that I'm sitting here going like, there's no way we're losing this. Like I cannot lose this. There's no one else in this lineup that can beat him. And then they go through the whole thing. They go through 2 rounds of comparison. They move him into the middle. After the second round of comparison, that's where he finishes. They send him off to stage. They call the light heavy as the winner. And I'm recording. I'm sitting there holding it, and like I'm hearing them call a different name, and I'm like, they said it wrong. And they just called the wrong name. It's okay. They're gonna. Oh, sorry, no, we called the wrong name, and then they didn't. And I'm standing there recording, waiting for it to change, and then I realize like it's not going to change. I'm at the front, and like both sides of the people sitting are on either side of me. I'm like right down the middle, and I just stand up, turn the recording off, and I turn around, and I just see eyes on me. And I just smile and just start walking. And it's just one of those things where it's like, we went and got the feedback, and it was his posing. You know, he's a 19-year-old kid who has a fuckload of muscle that he just grew in the last couple of years and just doesn't know how to move his body yet. The light heavy, to be completely fair, was awesome. He had great shape. He won his pro card the next week at Nationals. Fucking awesome dude. So like, it's fine. I understand why they gave it to him, but it's like, that's out of my control. That's not something I can change. I can't go up there and go, hey, tweak this right now so the judges will give you the, I can't change that. That is where the faster you can accept that and move forward from it, the better you're going to do, like any situation.
I agree. A lot of those moments, it's like I think Jocko Willink's like when you're facing a challenge or adversity, it's like his notion of like just saying good, like just being in a position where a lot of those situations, particularly in the first few years, like the challenges that you're going through and you're having to deal with, like you've just got to have a little bit of peace of mind in those moments, just knowing one day like this will not faze me because I've gone through it so many times that I just know what to do in these situations and how to act. And when you first expose yourself to that, it's pretty uncomfortable and it's pretty unbearable at times, especially when there's other expectations on you and you feel as though you've got to deliver and you don't. But the reality is, the more you do that, the more conditioned you're just going to get to. It's just another day in the office, and this is just part of the game, and you just get through it and you wait for the moments that it pays off.
Yep. I think the harder part is like at this point, it's like I'm starting to get comfortable with that. It's starting to be one of those things of like if a client messages me and goes, hey, I can't continue with you and I'm not going to work, whatever. It's like at first those things affect you really bad, but then at some point you just realize it's a commonplace thing. People come and go all the time. It is what it is. I'm not going to let it affect me because I can't tell you how many times I've had 2, 3, 4, 5 people drop off and I'm like, shit, I'm losing a bunch of people. And then all of a sudden I get this mass influx of new people coming in and it opens up new opportunities. So it's like, you just have to go, all right, this is what it is. I'm fine. I'm going to keep doing exactly what I'm doing because it's been working. Right. Yep. The harder part about that is communicating with that athlete. Are they going to understand the feedback that they were given that was something that we couldn't change? Like,
Yeah.
we can't change the judge's opinion of you. We can't change how you posed. We can't change that you don't have enough muscle. It's like, okay, how is that person going to handle it? And how do I deliver it to this person so they don't just like blow their gasket and then they want to leave and find somebody else? Because there's a million fucking coaches these days. Anybody can leave anyone at any time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, like I think that the one of the biggest things there is, you know, even before taking on board judging feedback, just taking a subjective and objective from a coaching perspective overview of what you feel as though could have done better and been improved on our behalf in terms of coaching delivery and how we've executed the final few weeks, or how, you know, how we executed the off season, the pre-prep start point, you know, the first few weeks of prep and the initial adjustments we made, the speed that we moved through the prep, how we managed the last few weeks, how we managed to peak, like what areas do we feel as though worked well, and at some points, and it will happen more times than we care to admit, what areas we feel as though we need to improve on and we didn't do right. But I always say in those situations, like, making mistakes is not the problem. It's not learning from the mistakes is the problem. Like, if you make a mistake, it is what it is. We're going to make mistakes throughout the entirety of our career, because when you're dealing with athlete physiology and athlete psychology, like, both of those things, like transient variables, like, they're going to be constantly changing. Every single individual you're working with is going to be a different situation, a different week, a different day. It's just the ability to understand why things potentially didn't go right, to then be able to correct those things and just do better next time. Because if we can do that for 10 years, we get pretty good at almost instinctually knowing what to do when we see certain situations, because we've been in those situations so many times before. So you're totally right. Like, one of the hardest conversations you'll have is picking an athlete back up when they not only have less confidence in their own ability to do it, but the hard part of you knowing they have less confidence in your ability to get them there. Then it's like we're in a battle of, like, a little bit of a chip on our shoulder, thinking, am I good enough in the first place, and do they need to go and work with a different coach? And also, I need to win their trust back by delivering next time. And there's a bit of additional pressure that comes with that. And I think ultimately that is part of the game. But the quicker and the more direct we can have those conversations, the better. Because if you leave them to stir, they're always going to be worse. And if you just get out in the open, you just sit down and go, look, this is the deal. This is where we fucked up as a team, or where we feel as though we can do better. This is what I need to do better differently, or what I feel as though when I review on this is what I need to change. And maybe they need to have a sit down with themselves and go, these are the standards I need to uphold myself, or the practice I need to improve on myself to make sure this outcome is different next time.
Yeah, you mentioned Jocko earlier, in one of his books is called Extreme Ownership. And anytime one of those things happens, the first thing I'm going to do is go, look, this is what I did wrong, right? And from there, I can't change anything. From there, it's just they have to accept that, look, I fucked up. I'm going to put this on the line. I'm not going to put this on you. This is what I could have done better. Even if it was something that they did wrong. Hey, look, this is what I could have done better. I didn't communicate with you well and didn't tell you to not do X, Y, Z, right? It's as simple as that. It always comes back to the leader, right?
Yep.
You also said something about failures, right? Is like, you have to collect failures, right? Like, I saw something along the lines of, like, if I told you that you were 100 failures away from the thing that you said you wanted, how quickly would you look to fail, right? I think that's a huge thing, right? Because in order for us to get to that place, you are going to get punched in the face. You are going to hit those obstacles. They go, all right, you think you're doing fucking cool, figure this shit out. And it's going to throw some shit at you, right? And it's as simple as that. You have to take those lumps. You have to fail in order to understand the way forward, right? Callum, you could sit here and give me all the advice in the world about all of these situations, but until I am in that situation, faced with the decisions, I can't know what that situation is like, right? It doesn't matter how many people I seek out and whatnot. Yes, I can try to learn from other people's mistakes and whatnot, but, like, the only way we really, truly 100% take that advice and learn it is if you get punched in the fucking face by it and you go, oh, shit, I don't want to have that happen again.
100%. 100%. It's
so with one of the other things that I was curious about is, like, so you were pushing for your own, did you go pro?
No. I stopped.
Okay.
I stopped early just because I think I when I can I only know one proper prep as a bodybuilder, and that was just in regional level shows, and my realization back then was I did an off season post that prep. I did an off season to have the intention of getting back on stage, just going back and improving for a year or two, and then coming back. So I got from like, I think when I came to Texas, when I saw you, I was like 300 and something pounds. But a year before that, I was on stage at like 218 pounds. So I put on a lot of weight in a pretty short space of time, which was a blessing because it taught me a lot in those situations in the first place. But I got to a point where when I got busy with coaching, my own standards as an athlete started to slip. And I just my sleep was poor, training times were off, meal timing was off, like little things started to slip there that I probably wouldn't have tolerated in the past. And then I just got to a point where I was like, look, I either just double down and run with this like full on, or I try and balance them both and maybe don't do either of them to the best of my ability. And that kind of made my mind up at that point. And it was also a time where I started to get a little bit more success competitively with clients. And I think you just fall in love with chasing those moments of just like having things pay off and having things come to fruition. And coaching is quite literally a game of just continuously chasing those moments and those feelings and doing what you need to do to make sure they can happen as frequently as possible with the athletes you're blessed to work with. So that was the decider for me. It was just coaching started to become the forefront of my day. And I'll still train now, and I'll still train like a bodybuilder, but it will just be on the level of trying to also be a dad and be a coach at the same time and manage everything else, right?
Yep. And I wanted to ask that question because I was curious, like where that crossroads came for you with bodybuilding and coaching, because like there are certainly people who can bodybuild and coach and do it fairly well. Like one that comes to mind is Austin Espy. Like Austin was on the Olympia stage this year, and he's got a very good coaching roster and a great coach, an awesome guy. John Jewett obviously is one of the higher level guys who competes and coaches at a high level. But I think for the strong majority of people who are bodybuilders and coaching, one of them has to go at some point. You're either going to be the bodybuilder who has clients, or you're going to be a coach. Plain and simple. Right? Like that is the long and short of it. Because if you are an athlete who is pushing to get a pro card, win a pro show, or go to the Olympia and compete at the Olympia, everything else is going to end up on the back burner. It's not, it might end up on the back burner, or I can balance this. No, there's no balance when you're seeking things like that. So was there like a moment where you're like, I don't think I can do this anymore? Like, was there kind of a time frame? Was it something that happened all at once, or was it kind of a gradual shift?
I think post 2019, 2020, that was where I started to have bigger influxes of competitors signing up and onboarding. And I think at that point, it just got to a point where like, I don't want to lose the opportunity to work with these individuals and deliver with these individuals. And if it's losing that versus chasing my own personal goals, like training is never going to leave me. I'm always going to train, and I'm always going to enjoy that side personally. Is honestly, training now is almost just a part of my day where I can just escape and just switch off and channel my focus on something else. And it's almost a bit of a refresher away from being at a computer
100%.
and putting some music on, driving to the gym and just reliving the 90 minutes or whatever it might be with just switching off and detaching. And then coming back fresh and ready to rock. But yeah, it was just, I think that was just a point where it was more competitors inquiring. And I remember, there'd be moments, particularly if my wife had gone to bed at night and I was setting up clients later in the day after I'd done my check-ins, and you just find time to fit blocks of work in. And it was like, look, if I'm supposed to be training legs tomorrow, and it's like 11:45 at night. I've still got one more meal to eat. I've got to get up at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I'm going to have 5 hours of sleep. My meals are off. Like, this is just not practical for me to be a good bodybuilder. Like, I can't do this and balance them both. And like you said, I know people that do, but I don't know, maybe it's just how our minds work and having to be, I'm either 100% this or I'm 100% that. I really struggle to balance two things and feel as though I'm doing both of them at the best of my ability, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, we're in the same boat there. And you're also like, I'm tall, you're fucking really tall.
Yeah,
Like,
it doesn't help.
so yeah. So trying to be competitive at our heights is difficult.
Yeah.
Like I was in a similar ballpark of the last show I competed in was 2019. I did the amateur that was attached to the Texas, or not 2019, Jesus Christ, 2023.
Right.
I did the amateur that was attached to the Texas Pro. Had every intention of continuing to compete after, and we were going to be pushing into the super heavies, trying to get as big as we can. I got to like 265 in my off season, which was big for me. And then I ended up with a stomach problem. And then at the same time, I had just become a relatively new single father during that time period as well. So it was like single father trying to bodybuild, gut problem. I want to throw up. Fuck this.
Yeah.
And I remember messaging Chris and be like, dude, Chris Tuttle. I was like, I got to be done, man. This just has to be done for a bit. And fixed the stomach and did all that stuff, and then just full bore focused on the coaching aspect and stuff. And it's done a lot for the business and whatnot. So it's definitely like, hey, if you can figure out how to do both of them, you're a way fucking better person than me. But like you said, like my brain I can't do both of those things. And at the same time, in order for me to be as big as I needed to be, I was going to take away from time with my son, whether it was now or in the future,
Yeah. I remember when I got to my heaviest, that was at a point where I started to struggle with sleep and apnea, and that was a bit of a check-out moment for me, where it's like, this is so impractical for me to. And this is at a point, like you said, like I'm 6'4", like I probably need to be like 330, 340 pounds in an off season. It's like, this is so impractical. This is so impractical for everything else in my life to be able to sustain this. That as much as
the only time I miss being 265 is when I'm lifting.
Exactly. This is what I say every single time. It's like it was awesome for about 4.5 to 5 hours a week.
Yeah, not worth it. Not worth the trade-off of like, I can't tie my shoes without holding my breath. I wake up exhausted. I'm exhausted all day long. I'm always full. Fuck that shit, man. I didn't have the appetite for it,
No.
But in this last little bit here, I'm curious, like with you being like a relatively new father at this point, and with your business being at the point that it's at, like you've done a lot of growth already. Like you have coaches underneath you, pro coach is it's pro coach, right?
Yeah.
That's your So pro coach is a pretty widely known name. It's one of the big coaching teams in our industry. What has being a father spurred in you now?
I think it's in honesty, for this year, it's given me a bit of a new lease of life in terms of the responsibility of wanting to build something that can last and that can be sustained, and that ultimately I think you'll be the exact same, like that can provide for what inevitably we need now longer term, like can provide for Ronnie, my son, Ronnie being the name that we chose for obvious reasons, but I won't tell my parents that because they don't know who Ronnie Coleman is. I think for me, it's been probably the biggest motivator of all. Like before, I think when you start scaling your business and it starts from a position of like just wanting to coach more and deliver more, and it starts from a competitive perspective in terms of stage, and then you get to a point within the scaling of your company where you start thinking more about revenue and like, fucking hell, this is crazy. Like I never thought I'd be in this position doing what I'm doing now. And then you get to a point, I think, particularly when you start a family, where it's like it's less about the financial side in terms of the finances and the numbers, but more so like, what can this provide me, and what balance can I have long term that allows me to have time back, if that makes sense. And I think one of the biggest things now, even with the education companies that we've delivered now over the last like 2 years, it's been those were delivered as a vision. Like for me, like coaching is very time consuming. Like coaching is very intense.
Yes.
There's a lot of travel. It takes a lot from you emotionally, particularly when you're working with a lot of people. And long term, to do that for 15, 20 years, especially with a family, is really hard. The companies that we made with the education were to also have something to supplement the original main business to be in a position where like they're a lot more efficient to scale once the product is there to a larger audience, and it gives me ability to have a bit of time back long term, to have a bit more control over my time and where I spend it, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. And it's even something like I am in the beginning stages of my coaching of like I'm trying to push full bore into this, like bring it all on, put all that load on me. Like I'm
Yeah,
ready to take it on and do whatever I can with it. But I'm already thinking about that aspect too, because like you can only bring on so many coaches, because if you just like bring on everyone and their mother, it starts to water down your product and your name,
yep,
even if
yep,
it's not something you are doing, right? It just gets muddy when too many people's hands are involved. So
yep,
if you're a coach by yourself scaling like that, it's like, yeah, you can do that. But like at some point that runs out of traction, and you only have so much time. You only have so much bandwidth.
yep,
So there is a limit to how much money we can make. So finding those things that can be something that's like a little bit more hands off is definitely the way to go. And but it's a matter of like you have built a reputation where now you can create something that is hands off because
yep,
people already trust you. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
yeah,
that took you multiple decades to build and
yep,
grow. And that's something that like I feel like a lot of people are trying to get in too quickly with that. It's like I see a lot of people who like just started coaching the last couple of years and they're already asking for people to come onto their team. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sure your
yeah, yeah.
demand's pretty high, but like, is this something that is necessary for you? Or are you doing this from a standard of optics? Are you trying to look as if you are bigger because you are hiring coaches? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. It's
Yep.
you are right. Like the more a lot of people will see a team as just like, if I had a coach, I scale a business, but logistically there requires a lot more internal management and logistics and the management of individuals and the
Hmm.
management of keeping people happy. Like there's a lot more stress that comes with the ability to scale a company in that regard, and the more people that are in it, the more responsibility you have to make sure everyone is happy in the first place. So
Well,
it does,
the biggest stress is people.
yeah,
The biggest stress is dealing with other people, right? Because
yeah,
like,
yeah,
not, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but like, I have to rant for a second because like, I have a bad taste in my mouth with coaching teams, and
mm,
the people who know the ins and outs of the story will understand why. But some of these teams are scams, 100%.
mm,
A hundred
mm,
percent, because I've had people come to me from those teams. I have
mm,
personally been scammed, right? So it's like I'm not just speaking out of my ass here. I have dealt with it firsthand, and I've talked to a number of people who have dealt with it firsthand. So like, are you scaling and creating a team because you truly need it?
mm.
Or are you doing it for optics, or are you doing it for monetary gain because you want to just go and be the baller online?
Yeah,
Sorry
yeah.
for the rant,
No, that's all good.
but
And it happens. It happens, man. Like within Pro Coach, the coaches that will work, within the brand now and coach with the brand have all been clients internally within the brand. So have kind of walked the walk and have kind of learnt the passage of our coaching methodology by doing it themselves, which I think helps in terms of
yep.
buying people into the way that you want them to coach in the first place and represent the brand externally. But honestly, like there have been times where we've taken more people on and we scaled the team back, and there's been opportunities to scale the team forwards even more. But I've always been the team has, put it this way, the the team has shrunk in number of coaches but grown in revenue for a reason, I think, in that regard, because the wider you cast the net out, the harder it is to manage internally what you want to set as a precipice for the standards you want to uphold. And I also want to be in a position where the people that are working within the business, the people that are working within Pro Coach, all feel as though they're all being fulfilled in terms of what they are getting from the brand, and what in return what the brand is getting from them in the first place. So I think there is definitely you'd have seen it, like the rite of passage for coaching now, particularly in the bodybuilding realm, is start coaching yourself and then bring coaches on your team and scale with coaches subcontracting or coaches taking clients through referral systems. But just don't be fooled by the fact that it's not it's not a get rich quick system. Like, you're in a position where if you want to do this right, it's going to take you a long time to do it. And you've got to really be in a position where you take your time, because it's very easy to scale your way out of sustainability because of the bridges you're going to burn in the speed you're moving at the start.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And like, there's a lot more categories in this, but it can boil down to like coaches who actually want to coach and coaches who are good marketers. Right. And that's kind of the thing of like, you've got a million people who can teach you how to market and scale a coaching business to get people to sign up. You can be really good at sales. You can really pitch things very well and get a lot of people to give you their credit cards. But how long is that going to last if it's not backed up with actual results and education and all that kind of stuff? So it's really just a matter of understanding like what is just good marketing and what is good coaching that also has good marketing. And that can sometimes be difficult to work through. I'm a skeptical ass person. Like, I'm very skeptical of everybody. Like,
like put it this way. I think we probably could have 10x'd our revenue very early on if we went down the route of like selling the dream. But I think, in hindsight and, reflection and being able to look back is something that you can only really do having done it in the first place. But I think it probably wouldn't have been as sustainable now if it grew quicker at the start, because the foundations it was built on was that, like, we wanted to deliver quality. We wanted to deliver, like, every client coming on board and the coaches in the business, like even the coaches that have come and gone in the past that have worked within Pro Coach, they've all been like coach first. They've not been marketeers. They've not been people that just run sales calls and look at conversions and, 50 calls a week, let's convert 25%, 10 clients a week, whatever it might be. Like, they've scaled at a slower pace, but I know the coaching standards have been where I wanted them to be. And I think, like you said before, reputation is really the only thing that you're going to start and end in this industry with. And if you want to be here for a long period of time and have that churn as low as possible, reputation is all you have. And like in this situation, like the standard and the service you can deliver at, like we mentor a lot of coaches through the ICM, which is it's more so personal trainers and physique coaches, not competitive coaches. But one of the biggest things that I'll always bring up with those guys and girls is like, you don't need 100 inquiries. You need 10, but you need the ability to keep the 10 once they're in the business. Like, if you can just focus on minimizing client churn, you're going to have a sustainable business that's going to continue to grow. But if you want to cast a net out and do email marketing or do whatever you want to do and get thousands of inquiries, unless you have an ability to actually cater for them and manage them and service them to the degree that you've promised them, they're all going to go anyway. So it doesn't matter.
Yep. Exactly. Retention matters way more than bringing on new people, but
for sure.
So we're coming up on an hour now, man. I want to respect your time and whatnot, and I know you guys got to get packed and ready to get going. So, Cal, I just really appreciate your time, man. It was a great conversation. You said a lot of things that I needed to hear for sure. So I'm sure some other people will enjoy it too, man. Anything you want to plug right quick before we sign off?
Firstly, appreciate the invite. It was good talking, man. And if you type in Pro Coach into Instagram, you'll see the main team page and then all of our individual pages. Mine says Callum _ Team Pro Coach, and then we've got two education companies. The ICM Education Institute of Coaching Mastery is our personal trainer, physique coach, non-competitive side. And then if you type in Pro IQ Education, that is our prep coaching platform. The reason why we've differentiated the two is because we've done education in the past with the Muscle Mentors. And when I started to coach competitive bodybuilders and we did education, the forum threads just ultimately became drug threads where everyone just wanted to ask drug related questions. So we've specifically differentiated the two, because one of them is for PTs and lifestyle coaches and Gen Pop coaches that I don't want them to just immediately think everyone should be going on X and Y just to get results. So we split them for that reason. But I appreciate the time.
TikTok's for that. That's where they can they can believe everybody needs to take drugs, right?
Exactly. But I appreciate the time, man. It's been good.
Yeah, dude. Thanks so much, dude. I really appreciate you, man. So this is the last recording of 2025 and will be the first video of 2026. So I appreciate you coming on, man. And as always, for anyone who is still watching at this point, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, tell us who you want to see next time, and we'll catch you on the next one.